On this video, I will be explaining how a Twintub works and what faults Twintubs are likely to give us and how to fix those faults. So let us start. I'll be using three machines. This one is a Samsung. Um, the model for this thing, that is the model number. This one is 85. Twin made 1300. I hope you can see that. So the other one there down is DT 131. So let's start with the wash side, because these twin tabs, they wash on this side, then they dry on that side. So should the machine be not washing, few things we want to check. Is the machine running? When you start the timer, does the motor run? If the motor run, does the pulsator spin clockwise and anti-clockwise? Should that be happening but the customer claims that the machine is washing, you want to place your hand like this, but you should be careful with that. Don't press too much. Allow the pulsator to move your hand away because it's running. Why I always do that? It's because when the threads on the pulsator are finished, when the machine is empty, this thing does run clockwise and anti-clockwise, depending how much threads are left. So if you hold this thing, then it stops, but the screw rotates. That tells you that this pulsator needs to be replaced because the bush no longer have threads that are allowing the shaft of the gearbox to move this clockwise and anti-clockwise. So you take the brand number, the model number of the machine, you call the appliance spare center that you use. I use there is an appliance spare center that is in Pretoria. I don't know Afrikaans. I might be wrong on pronouncing the name. It's called Latagan and Van Bill Jones. So you call those guys and ask if they have this, how much. Then you tell the client, you order to those guys, then you send your courier, or they send it, or they give you the price of the part and the courier price to your place. The other place that I used is TV Master. It's in Johannesburg, Crown Mines. They do have space for these things. The other one is MYZ. The other one is Texarico. So I'm also giving you the information on how to get parts. You use those websites. You just write MYZ, then it will show on Google. You write TV Master, it will show on Google. You write what else did I mention? Texarico, it will show on Google. Should you not get spares from those four places, forget. Forget. Or if you are battling to get spares from those people, just call Samsung straight. Then Samsung will give you their agent that sells spares. Should the agent have such part, you have won. Should the agent does not have such part, you have lost. So we've seen that how we can see if the pulsator is not working. Okay, let's say the pulsator is working, but the customer said the washing machine is not running. So on such case, the motor will not be spinning. So, or the motor will be spinning. Okay, let me explain what happens when the motor is spinning. and when you hold this thing it stops, and that screw doesn't spin. Remember, when the pulsator was faulty, this screw was spinning. Now we are saying that when you hold this thing it stops and the screw doesn't spin. So these are a few things that we want to check. At the back of the twin tail, this one at the faulty motor, so I removed the motor. There will be the motor here, and this is the gearbox of the wash tab. So there will be a belt drive here. So what we want to check, if this thing does spin and stops when we are holding the pulsator, we want to check the belt. The belt on that case, it's gonna be loose. So don't go and buy the belt. Check first if, as the washing machine was used, didn't the motor come close, making the belt to be loose. So if that's the case, you unscrew the screws, you move the motor backwards, but you need to take out the belt first, then move the motor backwards, then mount the motor tightly. After that, you put the belt. The belt will be tight if the motor was closed. Should the belt be not tight after you have moved the motor far, then you need to replace the belt on that case. If the belt is tight, then the gearbox is the problem. If you hold and the pulsator stops but the motor keeps running, then the gearbox is the problem. You will have to remove the gearbox. You can see that there are screws there. You unscrew them, then you take out the gearbox, but before you take out the gearbox you must first remove the pulsator from the top, and then you will have to unscrew this from this housing. Then you would be able to get through the gearbox like this. So you see, this one, it's removed, this one goes there. So if you remove it, it's now easier to take out the gearbox and do the repair. So so we have discussed the faults, like when the motor is running. If it's not the pulsator, it's the belt drive. If it's not the belt drive, it's the gearbox. So now let's say the motor is not running. If the motor is not running, this is the washed side, so we have the timer to run the motor. So we will come straight to the timer. This is the wash timer. They might be different, but the operation of them is the same. I can't open that one. I'll just use this one to explain how to do fault finding on these timers. I do have a video that explains almost everything about these timers. So you just look on my video playlist, or I will put the link. A timer will have live coming through this wire and will then give us outputs here and here. But when the output is here, there's nothing there. When the output is there, there's nothing here. So it's just changing on these wires. So we want to measure, if do we get voltage here. This is live, remember. So you put your lead to this wire and then to the neutral. Put your multimeter on AC. I think you should be knowing that if you're doing appliance repairs. Then should we get electricity here, we know that we have input. Now we want to start the timer and measure on this wire first, or that one first. You can choose any. Between neutral and this wire, you should get 230. That will disappear for a certain period of time and comes back for a certain period of time. The reason for that is because when, let's say, maybe when it's here, the motor will run clockwise. When it's changing to that one, the motor will then run anti-clockwise. So you measure here. If you get that 230 for a certain period of time and that 230 disappears, you are right, the timer is right, but you also come to this one, the same thing that happened here must happen here also. So should you get the same thing happening here, you know that the timer is right, it's powering the motor. So you might also check for continuity if this wire does continue straight to the bottom. So what happens is those wires, two wires, yellow and red, they come to this capacitor, yellow and red, then to the motor, yellow and red. So you need to go and look for that video, because I also show you the wiring diagram that helps to understand how this thing is wired. So red from the timer comes to this cap, then goes to the red to the motor. Also the yellow comes to this cap, then goes to the yellow of the motor. Then the neutral will be neutral. So should there be continuity between these wires and the motor, then we know that the motor is faulty. We must replace the motor. But should we not get, should we not get the output here, we know that the timer is faulty. We must replace the timer. So that's how the wash timer works and the motor works. That's where the faults are likely to happen, on the wash side of the twin tap. I do doubt you will get someone who will require you to fix this thing. This is the water inlet. So when you want water to go to the wash, you take this on this side. When you want water to go to the spin side, uh, no, I don't think this takes water to the spin side. I think when you are spinning the machine, and you don't want water to go through. I've never had faults with this thing. I don't know how it works really. Let's come on this one. Let's see what happens. We say we're on water we're on wash. What happens when we're on this thing? Does this thing close? This thing doesn't close. So why they make this thing? They can't make this thing for no reason. Yeah, I was right there. You see, this is the hole. So when you put water on this side, the water goes to the wash side. When you put water on this side, the water goes to the spin. So it's the same thing here. I don't know why you would want water to go to the spin side. Maybe when you are cleaning this washing machine. Yeah, when you have never done faults on such thing, it's not that easy to know them. Okay, I think we are done with the wash, because every timer, these timers are combined. So we cannot say you will have fault on this side. When you have a fault on this side, this is your normal and your heavy, you will have to replace the timer, because it comes like this. So if this one gives you a problem, you just buy the complete timer. Now let's go and talk about the spin. So now the customer complains that, okay, let's just come here first. The customer complains that when they put drain, the washing machine is not draining. So here they are on wash, here they are on rinse. So what is the customer doing actually when they activate drain? Okay, let's come and check here. Okay, I also have a video on such thing, because it's not that easy to explain these things thoroughly on a video that combines everything. So this is what the customer is doing when the customer is draining. So this is the switch at the back. We have this switch with these contacts, NC and NO. So when the customer is on drain. What they are doing is, let's say now here we are on wash, right? Okay, let's use the display for this one, and so that we don't confuse it. This one has off, wash or rinse and drain. Unlike this one, wash and rinse on this one, they are not combined. This one on the Defy, they are combined. You can wash and rinse at the same time. This means that this one you can wash if you want to wash. Then if you want to rinse, you must take this one here on rinse. I think it will operate differently. Maybe it's gonna be smooth when it's rinsing, not rough, as it should be rough when it's washing. So this thing goes at the back here. Remember, we said the problem is with drain. So this thing is like this. So now, what does the customer do? Let's look at the back, what it's happening. You see that the switch is open. So this pin here is away. So when the customer says drain, that's not drain. I might have flipped this thing out. When the customer says drain, that's drain, right? This is what is happening. This switch is now closed. Let's go to the information of this washing machine. Is it this one? No, I don't think it's this one. This one, as you can see, this one is drain pump, drain motor. Yeah, this one is for a top loader. If you would go to the video that I just mentioned, you'll get everything there. Let's switch off the light. Oh. So where is the drain? That's a cycle timer. Okay. Yellow, orange. Okay, that's one. It's the wash timer. Where there is common and NO and C, that's where the drain pump motor is. So when you push, so when we push here, what we are doing is we are changing contacts. This one goes there. So what happens is electricity would come from brown, then it will stop there. So remember, we have a spin timer on top, this spin timer. So having electricity this way doesn't mean this pump is working. It's only working when the spin timer is on. So if the spin timer is off, the pump is off. So when the customer wasn't spinning anything, now he was only washing, or she was only washing, now she wants to drain. So she is gonna switch off this, and when that thing is pushed, this contact moves up, and then electricity would come that way to the pump. Then the pump would run. Then that's what the customer is doing when it's raining. So you want to put the machine on drain. When you put the machine on drain, you go to the pump. The pump is here. Let us switch on the flash. The pump, that's the pump there. You have those two wires. You measure there for 230. If you do get 230 there, then you know that um, the switch is working, it's powering um, the pump, or you will switch off the spin timer. When you switch off the spin timer, well, I mean, when you switch on the spin timer, you measure there. If you get 230 there and the washing machine is not pumping, then you know that you have a problem to the pump. So you replace the pump. But on these washing machines, there are cases when you get 230 and you hear that the pump is running, but there is nothing that is coming out. So you want to remember one thing. When there is water on this side, remember this machine can spin and wash at the same time. So when there is water on this side and we are washing, we don't want that water to come out, because what the spin does, the spin will start the pump, right, and it will drain the water, but they want to drain the water on the spin side. That's when they install this is for that purpose. So this will block water coming from this side. This side is the wash side. So but it will not go down and block the water coming from that side, which is the spin side. So if we have water on this side that is not drained while the pump is running, then we need to check if when we're putting this machine on drain, did the machine lift this thing up to open for this water that is coming from this pipe? So if this thing is not lifted up, the washing machine will not drain the water on the wash side. So we need to check. Like, this is what happens. You will have this and you will have this being clipped here, and then it will go over here. So if this thing is broken, like this thing, it's broken, this thing won't be able to lift this thing up. So we'll have a problem. Water will not drain from this side. So we will need to replace this housing, or you can make a plan if you think you can make a plan when this thing is broken. Me, I just changed this thing. So sometimes when we do not get 230 there, it's this switch. So we need to come and test for this switch. You put your meter on beep scale, then between common, which is here, and this one, you should get continuity. The meter should beep, but between this one and this one, you must not get continuity when this thing is not pushed. So it's the other way around when the switch is pushed. I think I explained everything concerning the training. Oh yeah, the other thing is, when the washing machine is not draining, you need also to open here and check if the filter is not clogged. Sometimes when this thing is clogged with dirt, it will not allow water out. So you also check those things. Yeah, that's everything. Yeah, I think I've explained everything now concerning the draining part of this twin tape. If I was fast, you should look to the video where I explain this thing separately. Now let us come to the spin side. The spin side. Most cases they will tell you that this is not running. So when the motor is not running when they are spinning. So again, you want to come and check for yourself. Switch the spin timer on. Listen if you hear any noise. If there are no noise, then that means the motor is not running. So it's easy to do fault finding on the spin side. Okay, this is what's happening on this machine, right? um, there is this timer. This timer is like a switch that switches on the motor, so you will have input either on this one or this one, then the output either on this one or that one. Okay, so we want to check between live and neutral. So let's say this is our input on the live side. So if we measure between neutral, you will get neutral here. If we measure, if we don't get neutral, we take neutral down. We want to measure between neutral and this wire. If we get 230, we know that we've got a input, and we measure on this one after when the timer is on. If we get 230, we know that we do have output. If we do have output, then we come straight to the motor. Also, there are two wires, black and blue, as they appear on the timer. So those wires, they are wired a little bit different than they are on the wash motor. The reason is because the spin motor goes only on one direction. So the wash timer does not change cycles. I mean, the spin timer does not change cycles like the wash timer. So let me take this diagram again and show you what do I mean by that. The capacity is connected different. So this is the spin motor, right? Let's switch off this flash. Yes, this is the spin motor. You see now on the spin motor, neutral is neutral as always, but now the cap is connected in parallel to black and blue of the motor. So only the black wire that comes straight to the motor, then to the cap. The blue wire comes straight from the cap to the motor. There is no blue wire. The blue wire of the timer is not connected to the motor. The blue wire of the timer is just an output. I mean, it's just an input after the door switch. So, where is the door switch? This is the door switch. This one was broken here. I will explain what this switch does. So, if we do get, like, we come, let's put back the light. If we come here, we've seen that a blue from the cap straight to the motor, black from the timer to the cap, then to the motor. So between black and neutral, we should get 230 when the timer is on. If we get 230, we know that the problem is with the motor. If we don't get 230, we come here, we've seen that we have the door switch before the timer. So we check if this switch is closed. In most cases, this switch blows. So when this switch blows, just bridge the switch and check if the motor will run. Should you bridge the switch, then the motor runs, you have won. But should you bridge the switch, then the motor doesn't run, you have a problem. That means the problem is with the motor, because once you bridge the switch, you should be getting 230 between this black and neutral. So if you do get 230, then the motor should be running. Should the motor be not running, then we have a problem. Okay, yeah, okay. There is one more thing here concerning the spin motor. You see this thing that comes here. This thing clips to the door here. So when we open, this thing clips to the door. When we open, what we are doing is we are taking this back. When we are closing the door, we are taking this up. So let me show you what's happening. Oh, sorry, I referred to the wrong one. This one is for that thing. So you can see someone came and does breach this thing. I, I bought this thing from a client. So when we open the door, let me remove that. This guy was clever, eh? So when you open the door, this thing goes back. When you close the door, this thing goes up. So let's come and see what's happening here. So we've got this brake cable that goes where the motor is. So when we close the door, this is what happens. So you see what's happening? The brake went away to that coupling. So when you open the door, the brake goes back. So should we have a problem with the brake cable not doing this when we open and close, the motor is on brake. So if you get to that and the motor is not running, remove the brake and see if the motor will run or not. Should the motor run, you won. Should the motor don't run, you know that you must replace the motor. Yeah, that's the lesson on the spin. What's left? Oh, here is what left. Sometimes a customer will call you and say the machine is leaking. You must look for this guy. This is the buffer. Sometimes they will say when they are spinning, it's making noise. This is the bush of the buffer. When there is rust on this thing, there will be noise. So you need to clean this and put grease on it. Then the noise will be gone. Should this be damaged, the washing machine will leak. Also, when this bush is damaged, the washing machine will leak. The water will come from here, then it will go straight to the motor, and the motor will rust because of the water that goes through it, and that will stuck the armature of the motor. Sometimes the spin motors are likely to have those problems, so you need to remove the motor and open the motor, clean the rust on the stator, then start the motor. Should the motor be running, you need to change the rubber and put back, you need to change the buffer before you put back the motor. So you order the buffer through the brand and the model number of the machine. Yeah, I think I have explained everything you need to know about the Twintub. So should you have questions, feel free to ask, and I promise to respond. Thank you.